Rifle are a proper punk band. The five-piece hail from London, and their press release quite rightly states, "Rifle is the sound of revenge yelled by the damned sons of London's borderlands." The self-titled debut album came out on January the 16th, and it's a real in-your-face statement of intent, which Kerrang magazine has compared to Gallows and said, "This is very much an album for our times." I'm chatting with Max the singer and Ross the bass player. Welcome to the podcast, guys.
Hello.
Proper punk is back. Thank you. In a world filled with chaos right now, you've obviously got quite a lot to write about, Max.
Yeah, I think so. I think at the moment there is so much to write about. You've just got to look at what's happening in America with ICE and what's happening in Palestine, and I think there's a multitude of issues that should be addressed, and if you're not affected by this emotionally in some way, then you're probably part of the problem, I'd argue, because if that doesn't put a fire in your belly to at least address it or try and say something about it, then I personally think that there's no real answer to that.
So do you consider yourself a protest band, or would you say just by the nature of being a punk band, that's a category you're in anyway?
Yeah, I'd say it was protest band. I guess obviously the medium of punk as a genre definitely lends itself to that, even through the nature of the music. It's abrasive and but I think it's definitely something that we put into what we're doing, and it's probably the core of it. I think if you like, well, Max's lyrics are sort of taking these things on in that regard. I think it's something that we hopefully get across and that we're managing to do with what we're doing. So yeah, I'd say that we are. I'd say that these are things that we're trying to address.
So Rifle is a band name that pretty well describes what you do. I read somewhere that you, Ross, came up with the name. How did you become Rifle?
I think we came up with a name because we'd recorded the demo and we had it ready to go and we still didn't have a name.
Yeah.
It was more out of probably just getting a bit bored of the process of trying to come up with something or listening to everyone's ideas. And I think I don't even remember. Just maybe said it. Do you remember, Max?
I mean, at one point, I think we had more band names than we had songs. I'm glad that my suggestions didn't stick, and I'm glad that Ross's one did, because the things that I used to come out with thinking and calling a band were rubbish. I wanted to call the band School Trousers, and I'm glad that we didn't call them that, because proper rubbish, isn't it? And I don't see how it would have lasted more than about 45 minutes with a name like that. To sort of go back to your question, I do think it is... I'd say it is quite apt, pardon the pun. I think it's to the point, and it's succinct, it's direct, as is the name. I think the music is relatively the same.
Were you aware of the Rifles when you chose the name?
We was, yeah. Do you know what? Funny thing is, they rehearse above us, or below us, where we practice. So at one point we thought it was going to have like a bit of a West Side Story, Sharks versus the Jets kind of thing, where it's going to be a battle to the death of who gets to keep the name. But luckily they seem really good.
Which would you have been, the Shark or the Jets?
I don't know. What's the one that danced on the rooftops?
I think both of them.
Oh, well, there you go. I'd have been overawed then. I'm not too fast. Yeah. I'd have put Fred Astaire to shame.
You did an interview with Kerrang recently where you, Max, said that you hate having the piss taken out of your accent.
That is my pet peeve. You know what, as well, like this morning I just had the telly on and I heard someone on whatever morning show it is say, "You're from Essex, so you know what it's about." And I thought, what does that mean? You know what it's about. I can't put it any other way than it's just sheer out and out classism. If people from Essex are stupid and they're uneducated, I don't know why it's okay, and I don't know why people are allowed to mimic how you sound and how you've been brought up. It is my biggest bugbear. Yeah, there's quite a few things I've heard recently. I heard someone say about someone, he said, "Oh, you're an Essex boy." Yeah, you're an Essex boy. And I heard the person that they were talking about say, "No, let me set the record straight. I'm a boy from Essex. I won't be called an Essex boy," because the connotations that has. I thought, yeah, I quite like that. Might have to lift that myself.
Going back to the last question, has that made you conscious of speaking on stage between songs?
Yeah, I think so. Because, you know what, I used to really try and hide it and code switch within who I was sort of with, whichever company that I was keeping. And I got to the point where I thought, do you know what? Fuck that. I'm not doing it anymore. I should be proud of who I am, and if anyone's got a problem with it, then I'll take it up with them afterwards. It's not really. If anything, I probably do kind of lean into it more. I think for some reason people find it like a really amazing, entertaining bit, but it's not a bit. It's who I am, and that's how I speak day to day. I don't get on the stage and do a Lambeth walk and like, governor. Yeah, I'm not doing that.
I really like the fact that you've got scarves as merch, maybe because I'm living in such a cold country. Not many bands have them. Why scarves?
Yeah, I suppose it's like the football element, and you do see some oi bands sort of go down that route that we quite like. But yeah, something different.
I do think it is that thing of, I think we're quite a football adjacent band. We're all football fans, and I grew up going to football, so therefore I like to incorporate that into the band, and I think we all kind of like, especially the aesthetic of it. I think it's I like the thing of it looking almost like a little mob of people wearing them. I like the idea of that. I think that's quite good. Also, it's bloody cold, isn't it? So, that'll help.
It is over here.
Yeah, I can't complain really, can I? If you're sat in Helsinki, yeah.
So on to the release. You've just released your first full-length album, although you've had 3 EPs out previously. How has the reaction been so far?
Good, I think. It's one of those, I think you always expect something to happen mental overnight, and it doesn't quite work like that. I think we're pretty pleased with how it's been received, and I think, we've had really good reviews. I'm really pleased with it.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of it for me was seeing the reviews, because this is the first time that we've done like a week's worth of recording and work in the studio, and you get so you're looking into it and seeing it from a completely like all the tiny details and what it is, and you listen to it over and over again. That's what I've liked to see, is the reviews of how people are seeing it themselves, and it all seems to be quite positive, and you get to see it from the wider angle again, and it seems like people are liking it, the reception's good, which is exciting. And going to tour in March, so that's the first time taking like a release properly on the road, so again that will probably put it in a different light to even just having it out on wax or whatever. So it's all very exciting, and it's very it's an interesting process to go through and see things in this way.
I pick one out in particular that I liked. Far Out magazine said the album is a burning assault of snarled seethe and unerring solidarity in the best tradition of the UK's capital's oi, have a go hardcore brews.
Yeah, I'll take that. That's all right.
I thought you would. That's pretty complimentary, I think.
Yeah.
I do think as well, it is something in like reading a review and they're all like, oh, he's snarling, it's this, and I'm like, great. Most people would be like, oh God, that's not very nice. I find find a bit of solitude in the fact that people think it sounds not bad, but it's got that sort of not pleasant on the ears, is it? My mum texted me after she actually listened to it, and all she said was, "Blimey, you've got some lungs on you, haven't you?" That was the review that she gave. So I'll take that.
I was going to say that's pretty positive from a parent, to be fair.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, definitely.
You've got a wide range of topics on the album, including politics and the monarchy, etc. What sparks a lyrical theme when you're writing?
I would say that it is usually something that I want to address, whether that be politics or history, matched with or spoken about in the way that I would talk and in my voice, using my lexical vocabulary. Or it usually is one of those things. For example, like Soldier Doll is about like the occupation of Ireland by the British state. And I remember reading about something about like the soldier dolls, which were Irish women that would have engaged in a relationship with British soldiers. And that thing just kind of sparked an interest in me. And I just thought the whole concept of it was really interesting. Usually it is like something very minute, and I'll go on to probably comment about it or talk about it in my accent, or I'll say in my accent, that sounds really naff. But, from my point of view, there's no point in me trying to polish it and make out that, I know what it was like, or I was there, because I wasn't. A lot of these things that I will talk about, I wasn't alive for, or I wasn't geographically there for. So all I can do is talk about it from my point of view and as a spectator. And as a spectator, a lot of the things that I'll talk about are abhorrent. So I think that's a fair way of putting it.
And how does that work with the overall process of writing a song for Rifle?
Usually we start, it's quite a collaborative experience, isn't it, Ross?
Yeah, definitely. I think most of it is fragments of ideas that we'll try and put together in a practice space, or someone's got one idea for something. I think as well, like what Max was saying about lyrical themes, I think a lot of it comes from probably the conversations that we're having in that space. It's all like a very incubated sort of like, and things just happen from there. I guess we've sort of now kind of got a bit more of a formula going, but that's usually the way. Is it the music first? We sort of,
Definitely.
even Max will get on the guitar or drums at some point and that kind of thing. It is very fun, like sort of we'll just all have a go and work on an idea and flesh it out for a bit, and then Max will take it away and do the lyrics, right to it. It is collaborative, and it all sort of does come from us working in that one room, which has sort of become part of it, I suppose.
That's the way a band should be, I think.
And I do think we've kind of got to a point now where it feels like, you know, we might not understand necessarily the other instruments or know how to play them, but we can comment and say, oh, that bit was good, or you did it like this, or, you know, even Ross, you chime in sometimes and be like, I don't know if you say too much here, not in that way, but in like just in like a onomatopoeic sense, maybe, if nothing else. Like sometimes I noticed when recording the album that I like to try and probably say 50 words in like 10 seconds, which is sometimes a bit of a struggle. Like there was ways that Jonah, who produced the album, said like, you can't say all this there. It's like I'd be babbling for such a short amount of time and losing oxygen whilst doing it. Yeah, I think we've grown to know how to manage one another and coach one another with that, I think.
Sorry, into my head while you were saying that popped the Eminem of punk.
I'd say that. Yeah, all right, that'll do.
After supporting them, there's a song on the album with another band, The Chisel. How does working with another band on a song change the dynamics?
We always wanted to get Cal on the album, but wasn't really sure where. I think that's right. I'm right in saying that. We'd recorded that song and we thought it was amazing. And I think Flynn come up with a suggestion. He said, oh, what about if we just get Cal on this little bit here? And we're like, oh, actually, it might work. And I don't think it ever really felt that empty without him, but it just felt like you could shoehorn a little bit more in. And it was like the cherry on the cake, I think. Like it just added that extra element to it.
Sounds like our most fully formed tune, I think. It's like verse, chorus, you know, there's a back and forth, it does. And yeah, again, all that came quite naturally. It was sort of just like the right thing to do, and it just happened. But yeah, the Chisel are very important for us. They sort of always backed us from the very beginning. So it's for them to be involved and for Cal to do vocals and Luke's work on the album has been like a great thing to have on our first proper release.
The song was sort of thematically about like a sibling rivalry, something I don't understand because I'm an only child, but I just thought the element of it was really interesting. And Cal is a bit like an older brother figure to us, so it's like writing the lyrics sort of with him. I wrote my part, he wrote his. That was fairly easy to navigate because it was like, right, this is what it's about, this is my point of view on it. If you want to write yours, then yeah.
Are you conscious when writing political lyrics not to become too obvious and tacky with what you're writing?
Definitely. I think, yeah, that is a great question. I think there are some bands out there that do that and, you know, write from a very sort of surface level politics thing, which is fine and great. But I just think I'm conscious that I don't really want to fall into a cliche with that. And I want it to be from a place of, you know, a working class person that's got a day job. Me and Ross we met at work, working on a minimum wage job when we were on our feet for 12 hours. You know, we weren't, you know, we're lucky to have a job. I'm not complaining about that by any means, but I think we definitely wanted to do it from our experience, you know what I mean?
With a lot of it is sort of becomes a bit like ticking boxes, and I think it's important for people to use any platform to talk about these things, but if you do that to the extent that it feels like it's required of a band, it then lacks the sincerity, I think, to make an actual change. I think it's always good for people to engage in this stuff, but if they're not necessarily there for the point of engaging it, then it can fall flat. And I think that's a big thing at the moment, really. I think it's something that does just kind of wash over you now because it's sort of required that you say this and you say that instead of giving it a personal thing and using your platform for your own viewpoint, which is more engaging, I think, than just saying, "Oh, I'm supposed to be doing this" or whatever, which can seem like that a lot of the time. But like I said, it's hard to say because anyone using a platform to raise attention to these issues is right. But there does seem to be an influx of what I feel is sort of not as sincere as it could be when you're dealing with topics with this amount of weight.
Like Flynn said, didn't he? It was like buzzword punk. It becomes like this thing of like you just sort of end up, latching on to sort of popular culture rather than it actually coming from a place of sincerity.
Favourite song on the album, if push came to shove?
I really like Gauntlet of Hate, I think, is a good shoot. I really like the performance of that musically, and Max on it as well is brilliant. I think it's sort of a very well crafted, just angry, sort of what we do kind of thing. Good example of that. I really like that one.
My favourite is probably Protest. I think that's good. Musically, some of the lyrics in it are the things I'm most proud of on the album. And again, I think that's a proper good punk tune. Not to blow my own trumpet, but I think it's good.
I'm actually going to go completely against what both of you have said. Mine is Cease and Desist, because it's a little bit longer. There's a bit more time for the listener to get their teeth into it. It's got that amazing guitar break in the middle. And I love songs that have tempo changes. So for me, that one.
Yeah, I love that one too. That's another one that's like really only could have came about from having the time in the studio to do it. I think all the other EPs we've recorded in a day. So that was fun to have that chance to like really mess around with, get a load of like Luke recorded all the noise parts for us and just get a load of pedals out and try and do this kind of different thing. And yeah, I'm really proud of that, and I like that it's like in the middle of the album, it stands out. It's like nearly 4 minutes. It is a real change.
And it is probably the only track that we could have, maybe on Pray for All as well, actually, to be fair, but those tracks really are the only two that we could have been given the license to sort of take it a bit further and experiment, as it were. With the other stuff, I think it was just like, not rattling through it, but we just wanted short and sweet, sharp to the point. And I'm glad that we kind of were able to do something other than that.
On to social media. You seem to focus all of your social media energy on Instagram. Is there a reason for that in particular?
I don't know, maybe it's a age thing. Maybe it's just what we've sort of always used. I don't have Instagram myself. I really don't like social media.
It's probably the only one that's present, isn't it? Like, I get dug out for using Facebook, being told that I'm like an old man.
Max, going back to something you said earlier as well, how do you keep up when lip-syncing that many lyrics?
Well, a couple of people have said, "Oh, you're really overdoing it. I can tell you're miming." Oh, all right, cheers. You try and do it. Got to do a lot of sort of warming up, I think. For those listeners, they can't see my over-exaggerating of my lips. But, yeah, I don't know. It's a tough one, that. It's, listen, I'm a show-off. I can't say it's tough. It's all right.
I don't think you can be a frontman in a punk band if you're not, to be fair.
Yeah, one thing I will say is I get it if it's sort of like, folk music or something, but I really hate the thing of like, oh, I'm really shy and people love to do that one. It's like, no, you ain't. If you got the cojones to get up on stage and do that, I think it's like a bit of an act, that, personally.
I've just quit a covers band I was in for 10 years, and for the first 5 or 6 gigs, I threw up before every show from stage fright.
No, I do. I get that. I mean, I was a nervous wreck. The first gig we played, Ross, do you remember it? We played Guildford Boiler Room, and I kid you not, we played for about 6 minutes. And there was about 5 people there, 3 of which were Ross and Flynn's mum, dad, and sister. So it's like, one thing I will say, we've had a loyal fan base in the Whelan's. They've always come and seen us. Yeah, we played in Guildford Boiler Room for about 5 to 6 minutes. And I remember getting off stage and thinking that I'd just headlined Woodstock. I was like, what a rush that was, like wiping my brow as if I'd been working the crowd for hours on end.
So talking about live shows, I've also seen a couple of live videos on YouTube of the band. Max, you look like you really enjoy interacting with the crowd. I'm talking mainly about that Edinburgh show that you've got on there.
Oh, yeah, that was a good one. Yeah, that was fun, that. Yeah, I think it's just one of those things of like, you should just get stuck in, and if you can embrace, I like the embrace of people, even if they don't like it. I think it's better to really let them have it than. I get quite bored of watching bands that don't do much of that. Although I'm saying that when I see other bands do it, I'm a bit like, oh. So, yeah.
Probably.
I'll be like, oh, turn it in. Why are you doing that? And then I'm doing it 2 weeks later.
Do you watch other bands now thinking, I would have done it differently?
I know that Flynn said it as well, but I do find that I have sort of not less of a tolerance for watching bands, but it's more so I think you just think, I wish it was us doing that. When you see something good, and I think that's the best thing to have envy in like being like, oh, that's amazing what that band's doing. I wish we were doing that. I think that's a good thing. You should be jealous in a good way. You don't have to be a green-eyed monster about it and think like, oh, they've only got that because of X, Y, and Z. I think it's healthy to be jealous because it means you want more, I think.
And do you think that pushes you forward as well? It gives you something to sort of up your game to in the next recordings or shows?
I think so, but I think sometimes, a bit like what Ross was saying on the sort of politics side of it, I think sometimes you see things and you think, that's crap. I think that spurs us on more so than seeing things that's really good. You just think like, oh yeah, like that's not been done well, that's not been executed well. Maybe that's just me. But I just think it does spur you on to think, well, look, if people are lapping that up, and it's not very good, then surely we can do something a bit better, hopefully, and people will like it.
So what's been your best live show so far?
I'm going to say mine was Venice Hardcore Festival. I thought that was up there with one of the best shows we've ever played. The reception was mad, and they proper lapped us up. We played in this massive room that was just packed out, and the fans were loving it. It was people jumping up and down on the stage, this, that and the other. Anywhere I can do a little crowd surf, I'm bang up for that.
Yeah, I think it was actually that Edinburgh show that you said. That was very, very fun. That was just interesting sort of things going on throughout the whole time. And it was just like floor show, which is great. Like people just come right up to you. There's not that barrier or whatever that's, it's great to sort of just have that. You're on the same level as everyone else and people could just get involved like they definitely did in that one. I think, that one just really stands out for me as well. And that was on like our first proper tour as well. And that sort of, for me, felt a bit like, oh, this is really exciting. This is really fun. Because it's mine and Max's first band. We've never really done this before. So that was like something that I think really clicked for me at that point. It was like, yeah, this is something that I really enjoy doing. So that show for me.
You've got a launch show planned this week in Rough Trade East. I've always thought those types of shows mean a band has properly landed. Do you know what I mean? Do you feel like that?
I think so, in a way. Like only in the sense that I remember going to see bands doing that and thinking, wow, that's a real chapter that they've reached. So I think in that respect, it definitely is like, blimey, like it says signing. I don't really expect anyone to want my or our squiggles on a record. I'm still a little bit like, blimey.
Have you been practicing?
Do you know what? I have as well, yeah. Got the old whiteboard out and giving it all flicks at the end and that. Yeah. But even that, I'm just like, I'm not Ronaldo. I'm not going to be giving it all like squiggling about. I just find that a little bit bizarre. And as honoured as I am to say that we have, in inverted commas, fans, I would never see anyone like that. Everyone that just comes to see us is a friend, and we're just very appreciative of the support and love that they show, really.
Yeah, no, I think it is a bit of the dynamic of the site. Obviously, it's a great thing, but it's like we're just at shows that like people can come up to us anyway. So it is that kind of thing of like it's being a bit like, oh no, you're behind the table, but obviously very, very grateful for the opportunity and to be able to out there pushing a record is it does feel like a big thing.
It's probably not that big of a thing to have a signing because, like most of the time we'll just go for a pint with everyone that's been at the gig after anyway. So it's like most people are just like, oh, see you last week anyway. It's not really a big deal.
You mentioned earlier, because I couldn't find any details on this, I've got details that you've got this launch show and then you've got the Moth Club gig in March. I then found on your Bandcamp that you've got listed a show in Belgium, and then you mentioned there's a tour coming in March. Can you give us a bit more information on that?
We can, yeah. We're going to Europe. We're playing Utrecht, then Berlin, Cologne and Hamburg. That might not be in necessarily the right date, but it certainly is those locations. Then we're playing a festival in Belgium called Kaiserfest. Then we're playing Paris, and then we're coming home, and then we're playing Bristol, Manchester, Glasgow, Birmingham, London and Newport. Again, not in chronological order, but I have done my best to try and recite them word for word.
So is this your first headline tour?
Yeah, it's first time we're doing it. Yeah, we're the attraction this time. If anyone's there.
You must be super excited for it then.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's going to be amazing. We've not really done Europe like that either. We've done like one-off festivals more so in the summer, so this will be the first time sort of going and doing that properly on the road.
Like Ross said earlier, it's mine and Ross's first band, so we kind of have to keep looking at each other like, blimey, it's a bit exciting, isn't it? Like Louis, Albert and Flynn have all been in other bands and gone abroad and such, so me and Ross, it's our first time, so we'd just be having to hold each other so tightly on that road. I'll be cradling his head saying, don't worry, we'll be home in 13 days. No, it's proper exciting. Obviously we did the Chisel tour, but that was on the weekend, so which I actually think was worse in terms of having to recover, because you had Friday, Saturday, Sunday and then back to work. But that's what working people have to do, isn't it?
I was going to say about the recovery, I mean, do you worry about your voice? Because it's quite an intense vocal performance you're going to be doing every night.
I do a little bit, if I'm honest. Yeah. I've only started warming up. I have to kind of get everyone to leave the room because it's a bit embarrassing when you're doing sort of do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, and then you're going to go and do a punk gig. It's a little bit like, come on. You don't see Johnny Rotten doing that, do you? But I'm sure he does. But it's only the first time that I've started to do it because it is like the longevity idea of it. I just think like, blimey, you can blow your voice out for like one or two shows, like Ross said, when we've gone and done like a festival or done like one or two dates in France. But when it's like, I think it's 14 days with no day off.
Pocket full of lockets all the time.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, I think so.
Have you, because obviously you've been playing shows in the lead up to this coming out, have you played all the songs on the album live before?
I think we've never played Pray for All live. Everything else I think we have.
Gauntlet of Hate we haven't done. But we're trying to put them in the set for this.
Yeah.
So you've got this tour in March. How about festivals in the summer? Are there some being lined up for that?
Yeah, we've got what's it called? Destroy Vienna in June. That one looks great. That's looking forward to that one. And then
Clamott Rock. Yeah, I think there's a few coming in, but I remember last year we didn't really get a few until slightly later on, so I'm hoping to do them. I love doing the festivals.
So the final question, what music are you listening to at the moment that people may not be aware of and should take some time to check out?
I mean, all I really do listen to is the Smiths all day, every day, so nothing new there. I've been listening to Steroid. People are probably very privy to that now, but that Chainmail Commandos album they did, I thought was wicked. And I was lucky enough to catch them when they played in Camden, and they are wicked.
So for anyone wishing to find out more about Rifle, you're on Instagram, almost on Facebook and Bandcamp. Rifle, your self-titled album, is out now on Year One Records, physically in UK stores and via the Year One web store, and can be found on Bandcamp and all streaming services. Is that right?
Yeah.
Max and Ross, thank you.
Cheers, thank you.
Cheers, Daniel. Take care, mate.